Hello, everyone. We are going to get started in just a moment. Emily, can I ask you to admit, manage participants while just in this very moment in the early stages of this webinar?
Sure.
Is that something you can do? So to do that, you hit the manage participant and then admit people from the waiting room.
Okay, got it.
It's hard to talk and do two things at one time.
Are you doing this to protect the call?
No, that's a good point, Michelle. If anybody is having Zoom bombers or worried about Zoom bombing, one way to do that, it's not the way, it could be the waiting list, could be one thing, but I don't exactly know every single person. We've gotten some new people who have been coming on, so it's not only to do that, but the way to do that is also to only allow co-hosts to share their screen. So that's also another way to do it. You have to do that in your meeting settings way back when. So
We actually were on a call yesterday, and I think Zoom has set it up so only hosts can share their screen.
Oh, possibly, which means I'm going to go ahead and allow a couple others and allow a couple other people to be co-hosts at the moment. Because we have a couple of guests today who are friends of CAMEO, who you probably all know very well. But I'm going to officially get started and share my screen and welcome everybody. So welcome to our third listening session, which is serving small businesses in today's challenging times. Thanks everybody for coming. It's really great to get everybody together and hear what's going on with your programs. So thank you. I'm Heidi Pickman from CAMEO, for those of you who don't know me yet. And for those of you who aren't Zoom experts yet, which I'm guessing most everybody is, all your audio, you've joined muted, so you'll have to unmute yourself. To find the Zoom menu, you drag your cursor down to the bottom of your screen. There'll be a mic icon on the left, and you'll also see a chat box bubble on somewhere down there that looks like the cartoon blurbs that all the writing's in when you read a cartoon. We are recording. You're free to share. We'll send everybody a link as soon as we can. Please be patient. We've been doing these webinars daily, and it's time. We put them up on YouTube. It just takes time to render them, and we might have other things that we need to do. We're happy to share whatever slides that we give you for this session. So today's agenda, it looks like we have quite a few people on the line, so I'm not going to do individual introductions, but I do want to invite you to type your name and your organization into the chat box. We're just thrilled to have so many of you here and so many of you coming back and just kind of sharing what's happening. I'm going to give a very quick update on what's happening at CAMEO and what's happening with the advocacy. And then we'll talk about alternative capital. We have Anne from Kiva who's going to tell us about, 4 and 5 are an error, sorry about that. Alternative capital, we have Anne from Kiva who's going to talk about their new product. Jonny Price, who's from Wefunder, who's going to talk about his new product. And then we'll have Kathleen Minogue, who will kind of sort of help you figure out which of your clients, which product is appropriate for which client. in the crowdfunding space, and she has a tool to offer up all of you. So anyway, thanks for joining us. We did number 4 and 5 last week. Sorry, we are moving really quickly, and I threw up these slides, so I forgot to delete these number 4 and 5 bullet points. Forgive me, I am human. Today, I just want to tell you about some of our webinars that are up on our website, and I'll post the links as soon as I stop talking. We did an Understanding Disaster Loans Part 2, which help you access the disaster loans. We did Improving Your Client's FICO Scores on Monday. And yesterday we did Developing a Loan Deferment Policy. So if there's any lenders on the line that are looking, that want to check that out, that'll be up later today. We are full for Bringing Your TA Online class that starts tomorrow. I will also post a link to the second cohort. I'm going to have you actually just sign up for the first cohort and get on the waiting list, and then I'll email everybody. At the moment, that's the easiest way for me to handle that. So that's what's happening at CAMEO. What happened yesterday, the Treasury announced its Paycheck Protection Program. It's live. Small businesses are eligible, as are all nonprofit organizations, also self-employed and independent contractors. So everybody should apply for one of these loans. The application, I've seen it, it's really simple. It's a 2-pager. The information for the application went out in our, I think it was an old application. No, I think I actually found the application, updated it. I'm not sure. We will make sure you have the updated application link at the end of this webinar when we send out all the resources. But you can apply 2.5 times your monthly payroll. So if your monthly payroll is $10,000, you can apply for a $25,000 loan. But the good news, it's forgivable. After, if you keep your payroll intact through I think it's in the 8-week timeline, and then after 8 weeks it's forgivable. So that's like huge, right? That should be really good. So everybody should be applying for that. And the other good thing, it's not taxable. Not that you care if you're a nonprofit, you don't pay taxes anyways. Okay. So with that, I am going to stop sharing my screen, and I am going to hand it over to Anne Lufkin from Kiva, who's here in the Bay Area, and she's going to tell you about Kiva's program. Anne, you are muted.
Heidi, thank you very much. And thank you for putting this together and all the support that you and CAMEO are giving to small business organizations. And thank you for including Kiva in this. We are really happy to be a part of this discussion, and also let you know that we are that we have a product that I believe will help in response to some of the businesses that are having difficulties getting through this time. And I know most of you, the presentation that I have, like Heidi, we're moving very quickly at Kiva. And so some of the presentation that I have is really oriented toward organizations who don't know Kiva as well. So some of the initial things are regarding just Kiva loans in general, which I will sort of gloss over quickly. And then I'm very, very happy to take questions so I will pull up my presentation here and then go from there. Oops, give me 1 second, sorry. Okay. start. Okay, so basically a little bit about what I'm going to go through. Basically, I'm going to mainly jump to the final portion of this. But again, as Heidi mentioned, I'm Ann Lufkin. I basically serve the Pacific region of the United States, along with many of you know my colleague Sarah Deal, who's in southern part of California and also serves part of the United States. But we're all here at Kiva to help to share the response to the COVID-19 and see how Kiva can help be part of one of the solutions. So, you know, as you know, we're here to support primarily financially excluded businesses who would not normally qualify for other forms of capital. Most of our clients are women, people of color, formerly incarcerated, undocumented, people with low credit scores who don't even apply, who would not normally qualify for a CDFI loan and generally would find a CDFI loan to be perhaps expensive for them. And I know that they're expensive clients also to serve. So this is kind of Kiva's special niche in the market and where we see ourselves fitting into the financial ecosystem. Here is a little bit about you know, who we've served to date. And this is, you know, some of you know us better for our work in the Bay Area, which has been very impactful and is a huge portion of Kiva's work across the United States. But these statistics about women and people of color, so we've served 63% women and people of color. These are sort of national statistics. And so we work very closely with the credit invisible, people who were previously rejected from other forms of capital and people who have a credit score below 650. Anyone who doesn't know Kiva that well, we do not base our loan criteria on the actual credit score. We do have potential borrowers self-report on the credit score, and we do a soft credit pull. It's more of it's more of a verification of information as a courtesy to our lending community. But again, our loans are to be used collaboratively within the market and to create a pathway of capital. So either, you know, in conjunction with other organizations or as a first sort of as a, you know, as we're, you know, showing here as a first step on that capital ladder. We really see Kiva as the first form of capital. And again, just to remember the way, you know, Kiva's really about more than simply the 0% capital, which that can be a huge advantage to small business owners, but really the other parts of that come into play, especially at a time, I think, when so many businesses are suffering, that what Kiva also has to offer is really the community, the support from a community of lenders and the connections that borrower is making, not only within their actual community. Sometimes, let's say borrowers in Oakland, hopefully when they do a Kiva loan, hopefully then lots of their lenders are coming from Oakland. Those same lenders become their customers, but also they're getting a larger support system, and they're connecting to a community of lenders who really, really believes in them. And we believe that this whole segment of them getting the word out is super important in the development of a business now, sort of more than ever. Please stop me if anybody has questions, otherwise I'll just take questions at the very end. So these are, I just wanted to sort of go over these requirements again, just to refresh those of you who already know Kiva. And in the further slides, I'll talk about how we are sort of making our loans more inclusive right now. But our system for reviewing these loans remains intact. So there are certain things that we need to take into account when you're looking at if a Kiva loan would be the correct tool for these entrepreneurs. So our borrowers need to be over 18 years of age. You know, some of you are seeing our website, and internationally we do other kinds of loans, but in the US, these loans are direct loans to the entrepreneur, and they definitely need to be for a business purpose. Both the entrepreneur and the business need to be located in the United States. We don't do multi-level marketing, federally illegal activities, so hemp is out, or any sort of investing through the stock market. The entrepreneur cannot be in foreclosure, bankruptcy, or have any liens on the business. If those, for example, if a bankruptcy is closed, we can work with that borrower as long as the bankruptcy has been sort of resolved. And we still have, as many of you know, the first section of our fundraising period is called private fundraising, and borrowers need to bring a small number of friends and family on the site to make $25 of loans, and we'll look at what that means. But we are still we're still working within that framework for the moment. And this is our normal loan process, as many of you know. The borrower submits a loan application online. It says here 30 minutes to 1 hour. Generally speaking, the requirements for this are the borrower really gives us some personal as well as business information. Sort of basic financial information. They submit a high quality photo that shows a picture of them at their business. It's easily identifiable what their business is. They tell their personal story, a little bit about their business, and then they also tell us what the loan is used for. And the more specific you can have borrowers be, the more successful they're actually going to be on Kiva. So tax returns, bank statements, business proof aren't required, but they do help borrowers to qualify for larger loans. And for some of you who don't, who remember Kiva in the old days, that's something that now we're considering. So in the next couple of slides, I'll talk about the sort of small, medium, large type loans, and that will help with there. Then the application goes into Kiva review. If many of you sitting in this call are also Kiva trustees, first of all, thank you for all of your work and for referring borrowers who can benefit from a Kiva loan. We appreciate your support, and if any of you are having difficulty with the systems, I'm also here to help you to resolve that. So that loan should basically be in review between 5 and 7 days. As a result of the COVID, we've also brought on an additional person to support the review of our loans. So that's good news. We're really trying to expedite so that we can get through the review very quickly. And the fundraising, there's a few little things that have changed. So the private fundraising, again, is the first 15 days or until the borrower has completed the number of people that they need to bring into the private fundraising period, which will be told when we approve their loan. We tell them how many people that they need to bring. And the public, our site is opened up for a few additional days. So we're not seeing borrowers expire. It's actually going beyond 30 days for right now. And we have 1.8 million lenders who are really supporting them. Kiva US loans in particular are moving really, really quickly on our site. So we're not seeing borrowers take 2 and 3 weeks to fundraise, but I think conversely, they're fundraising within about a week or two. Don't quote me on those, but I think that we have loan matching coming from many different sources all over the United States. And so we encourage people as the fundraising time is a concern, that really if they put a little bit of effort into the application process, they will probably see the results much quicker than previously. And our repayment is still 12 to 36 months, but the I will go into the grace periods in a minute. So basically, the general rule is 12 to 36 months, and that's decided basically based on the loan size. So this slide is about trustees. I think most of you here know what trustee organizations are. They previously have a relationship with a borrower. They endorse these loans publicly, and they can really accelerate a borrower's review time and also help them through the process. And under our new system, basically, they can help certified trustees, which are trustees who have managed, sort of reviewed, supported a number of loans and have had $25,000 in loan payments come due and still have a 90% repayment rate, are now classified as certified trustees. So these certified trustees actually have sort of some specific benefits within our system right now. So if you're a certified trustee, the borrowers that you recommend to Kiva or that you publicly endorse actually have to bring less people in private fundraising. So if you look at just the basic small, medium, and large buckets that we have on our site, so part of the pre-application now at Kiva sort of buckets borrowers into the small, medium, and large. So for example, if you don't have business proof, you can still qualify for a Kiva loan, but you will be sort of most likely placed in the smaller bucket. If that borrower has a certified trustee, they need to bring 5 people into private fundraising. And if they don't have a trustee or they have a non-certified trustee, they will have to bring 15 people into private fundraising. So I can take questions on that. So getting into the support that we are, Kiva's response to the COVID-19, there's a couple of things. Number one is, as I mentioned earlier, our major focus has been now honing in on women-owned businesses, people of color, and low to medium income. We're sort of expanding that eligibility. So now under the COVID, every business for us is really a COVID business. So we're expanding our eligibility and moving beyond just simply serving the most highly excluded entrepreneurs. We are providing, we have changed our product, and we have moved the maximum loan size from 10 to 15,000. Although I'd love to comment on that. So borrowers who qualify for a $10,000 loan will be automatically asked if they would like to have that loan expanded to 15,000. So it's not like we're offering 11, 12, 13, or 14,000. Borrowers that qualify for 10 can actually get $15,000 on the website right now. And they will be able to voice that when we are, when we're in the call, when we approve their loan. And all borrowers are now have the potential for a 6-month grace period. Again, everyone is grandfathered in at 6 months. And then if they prefer something shorter, which is at the discretion of the borrower, they can tell that to our review committee at the time that we are actually endorsing the loan. And then this is just a quick slide for all of you to sort of be able to, see the typical loan product and the COVID response. I'm happy to send these slides along if in fact that they are sort of useful for you. And then this gives these, I would say, the small, medium, and large bucket, and now the extra large bucket, and shares how many people, what the range is for private fundraising, so you can work with potential borrowers. And I'll speak to a couple of things here regarding the terms and how we make these bucket determinations. To begin with, where do we see a borrower? And there's really 3 very big picture considerations that we take into account when we're sort of deciding what range a borrower falls into. One thing is we're looking at the debt to income ratio, which is this is a basic debt to income ratio calculation of subtracting monthly debt from monthly income. The existence of a separate bank account for business and personal finances kind of shows the maturity level at which the business is at, and whether or not they have a government issued business proof. So that can be local, state, or federal. And then let's go on. I wanted to share with you that our first, Anaí was our first borrower to receive the 15K loan, and she is in Oakland, California. And she was endorsed by, they're not in the screenshot here, but by Prospera. So we thank them for their support with this. They support women-owned co-ops, and I know this is Anaí's second loan. So this was actually funded really, really quickly, even though it was a much bigger loan than we're used to funding on Kiva. And the one thing I will say is, if you take away one thing that you should pass on to your clients during this webinar, is that it's really, really important, if the use of the loan is to work to to rebuild the business based on the something they need to do with COVID, related to COVID-19, please make sure that they refer to that in this first simple sentence at the top of the loan description. And also in their personal stories. That's really important for fundraising. So, and then helping them think through, you know, how this Kiva loan can be part of all of the different options that they are you know, out there looking at. I think the biggest issue right now is that small businesses are facing, you know, they kind of have a deer in the headlights thing. There's so many options out there, but they don't know how to access them. And then the second thing that I will say is here, this slide is really kind of sums it up. Zero interest, zero fees, extended grace periods for Kiva. For the borrowers that are located in Oakland, we now have a Kiva hub in Oakland. And that is being managed by Central Community Partners. So they are supporting entrepreneurs with Kiva loans in all of Alameda County. So that's wonderful to have their support. You can contact them directly. And then there are a few other things that are really essential for getting borrowers through the system quickly. So the first one is, this is a direct link to the application. As if some of your trustees, you could still send them a referral using your trustee account, or you can direct them directly to the website. There are some great examples on this Kiva US Hub application. So for informational purposes, if a borrower has not been through our system before, there's a lot of helpful hints on this page. And then anyone who's having tech troubles or issues, the best way for them to access Kiva is to work through borrowers@kiva.org. And they're going to get really quick responses out of there, because we have a CS team that's kind of working to support the US loans at this point. So I am going to stop sharing my screen. Let's see. And see if I can, Heidi, would you like me to take questions now or at the very end?
Hi, this is Susan Brown. I'm not sure where Heidi, I work with CAMEO. I'm not sure where Heidi went, but
I'm sorry. Hey, Susan, it's Emily. I just found out there's a power outage for Heidi.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I just suddenly said I was made host. I went, what happened? We do have a question in the chat box, Anne. So the question is, how do you become a trustee? Do you have to register with Kiva? How does a business owner find existing trustees?
How does a business owner find existing trustees?
Or how can your organization become a trustee? If that's a long process, then how do you hook people up with trustees? Like, what's the process to?
Perfect. I can put information in the chat regarding that trustee. I have an application for trustees that I can put up on the site. We also have a trustee, also sort of a trustee section on our hub that like the borrower section, can explain exactly what a trustee. Trustees are basically organizations and there's a correction on that, no longer individuals. Kiva's not accepting trusteeship from individuals any longer. It's organizations that give business support. So these can be CDFIs, they can be technical assistance providers, they can be government organizations, or any organizations that work specifically with business owners to help them build their businesses. They can apply on our site. Also, there's a search bar on our site where you can search for existing trustees in your region. And so there is, and then there's also a support line for trustees. So I can put those 3 resources out on the chat while we continue to talk.
Thank you. That would be great.
Okay, thanks. Are there any other questions, I believe, or otherwise move on to Jonny Price? All right, take it away, Jonny. Let's see. Looks like you are currently muted.
Can you guys hear me okay now?
Oh, here we go.
Hi, Jonny.
Great.
Yes.
Hey, Anne. For those of you that don't know me, I used to work with Anne for a number of years at Kiva, so it's so good to be next to you on this webinar and seeing the great work that Kiva is doing, increasing loan amounts and expanding eligibility criteria to hustle. I think both Anne and I are very, and Kathleen as well, very, I guess, optimistic and hopeful that crowdfunding and tapping into capital that's latent in communities can help to be one part of the solution for small businesses over the coming months as they look to both survive and then rebuild, as a complement to government assistance, as a complement to loans that many of you guys and your organizations will be making to small businesses. And for me, at a high level, what Kiva is about over the coming months, what we're about, potentially GoFundMe on the donation side as well, is tapping into dollars from customers and community members of the business, and also potentially, Kiva lenders from around the world that want to help out, and Wefunder investors who want to help out, and kind of complementing existing sources of capital. So at a high level, that for me is the role of crowdfunding over the coming months. And I saw a GoFundMe page for Delfina Pizzeria here in San Francisco, and they raised $35,000 in straight donations from a GoFundMe. My guess is that if you're looking at a loan on Kiva or Wefunder, my guess would be you could 10x that. So I hope that, especially for community-led businesses, this can be a useful source of capital. So yeah, Wefunder is an investment crowdfunding platform. We are a for-profit company. We are a public benefit corporation and a B Corp, but we are a for-profit company. Whereas Kiva is a non-profit. Kiva loans are 0% interest, capped at 15K with this crisis. Wefunder loans, investors are getting a small interest rate return, and also Wefunder is charging a closing fee on the loans. So they are slightly less generous terms for small business owners. But because we are offering a return to investors, the amounts of capital that small business owners can raise are going to be more significant. So on Wefunder, our loan amounts for this emergency loan product, and I'm only going to talk about our coronavirus crisis loan on this call. If you guys are interested separately on learning more about Wefunder, outside of this crisis, let's talk another time. But right now, I'm just focused on our crisis loan. So it's $20,000 to $107,000. If there's demand from investors, and if a business needs more money than that, we can potentially do more than that as well. But initially, just to expedite the process, we're limiting it from 20K to 107K. The interest rate, technically the small business owner can offer different interest rates to investors, but the default and what I'm kind of communicating is 3%. That's simple interest rate, so non-compounding, just paid on the principal. Repayments are going to begin on these loans in 2021. They are going to be based on a percentage of business revenues. Again, if the business owner wants to have a fixed term loan with fixed payments every quarter, they can do that, but the default is that repayments are going to be based on a percentage of revenues. So that if revenue is slower to rebound, then repayments are kind of adjusting based on the cash flows of the business. So I think basically in many, many ways, this is a very, very generous loan product for small businesses. It's not as generous as Kiva. It's not as generous as government assistance is going to be, but we hope it can be complementary. And by offering investors a small interest rate, we hope we can allow small businesses to tap into, potentially larger sums of capital from their community than if they were doing a Kiva loan or if they were doing a GoFundMe loan or a GoFundMe donation, sorry. I put the URL in the chat window here, wefunder.com/loans. So if you guys want more information, then I'll be able to give on this call. You can get that all there. And I actually just included my email in the chat as well. So if you want to email me to ask more specific questions, then please feel free. And you can either encourage your clients to apply for a loan on the website, or please feel free to intro them to me personally, and I'll have someone on our team jump on a call with them and help them explore a fit. Probably the last thing I will say is just around eligibility, and both eligibility and kind of likelihood of success. Actually, maybe I'll talk about timing as well. So on the eligibility front, we are kind of very few criteria. So no credit score requirements or years in business or cash flow requirements or anything like that. In terms of sweet spot, I think this is the best fit for Main Street businesses with a retail storefront. If there's like a consumer products company that's also seen cash flows that have been really negatively affected by the crisis, and they have a strong audience and a strong customer base, that might also be a fit. But I think the real sweet spot is retail businesses. And the other thing is that, they should have an audience. If they don't have an audience of customers here, it's probably not going to work. Kiva can work for small businesses that don't yet have an audience. Kiva has a huge lender base of 1 million people. They have money in their accounts. Kiva, I'm sure, is going to be aggressively marketing these coronavirus loans to their investor base. So if you don't have an audience, or if the small business owner is less tech savvy, Kiva can still work with you. And to borrow $20,000 or up on Wefunder, you are going to have an audience. And I'm sure Kathleen will talk about this as well. And you guys might be able to help them from a kind of, technical sophistication perspective. So you might be able to help your clients to get up on the site and do it. But at the end of the day, the real sweet spot is going to be folks that, are a little bit more advanced, a little bit more sophisticated. We obviously are going to be trying to triage and advise as well. So if you send folks to us and we think that Kiva is a better fit, or we just don't think they're going to do well on crowdfunding, then we will tell them that, the last thing we want them to do is struggle to raise $7,000, pour a ton into it, and they don't reach our minimum and we can't disperse them the money. If they don't reach $20,000 on Wefunder, we can't disperse them the money legally. So yeah, that's, we want to avoid that outcome, and we will be encouraging people not to apply for this if we don't think it's a good fit for them. The last point here is on timing. So, this is not going to be the quickest capital they can get. They need to provide financials from the last 2 years in order to launch a campaign on Wefunder. That's a legal requirement from the SEC. So if they don't have that together already, and that's going to take them a while to pull together, then that's problematic. That needs to be 2018 and 2019 financials. They don't need to have that reviewed or looked at by an accountant, but they do need to say, these are my books from the last 2 years. The crowdfunding itself may take some time. I think the businesses that are in the real sweet spot here, they send one email to their customer base, they promote on social, it gets picked up by the local paper, and they rapidly raise $20,000. So I would hope But that crowdfunding part of the process goes relatively quickly. But then there's also, right now, there's a 3-week lag after they launch the campaign before we can send them the money, which is also an SEC regulation. We are trying to work with philanthropic partners who can basically front the money so we can reduce or eliminate that 21-day time lag. But we don't have those funds in place yet. So right now, my estimate of when they could get the check from Wefunder would be a month from, like, if they started working with us now, my guess would be it's going to be a month before they get the money. And that's obviously slow for this crisis when the median restaurant has 27 days of cash buffer. So definitely keep that in mind. What I'm encouraging small business owners to do right now is pursue multiple options in parallel. I think this is going to be a marathon versus a sprint. We don't know when, you know, the social distancing is going to be lifted. Even when it is lifted, we don't know if it's going to come back again, if you know, cases rebound. So I'm encouraging small business owners to pursue multiple options. And if Wefunder can be one of those options, then yeah, check out the link or email me. And I will pause there because I know Kathleen has some great stuff to get through. And by the way, yeah, in terms of assessing eligibility, I would very much endorse what Kathleen is about to say as an option to try to help small business owners decide whether Kiva or GoFundMe or Wefunder or none of the above can help them at this time.
Great, Kathleen. I'm back, everybody, and just want to, for another learning moment for everyone, is that in case Susan or Emily didn't mention it, always have a co-host on your call so that you don't end the call for everybody. We had a power surge here in my house, and it looks like everything kept on moving right along. So for those of you who are doing anything online and teaching online, just make sure you have a co-host. It could be one of your students. It could be another staff member. I'm going to turn it over. Does anybody have any quick questions? I think we'll go on to Kathleen and then we'll open it up for questions. So.
Great. Thank you, Heidi, and thank you, everyone. Just checking you can see my slide with all the technical difficulties. Oh, good. Okay. So, first I want to say I am a Kiva lender since 2006. I'm a huge fan of what Kiva does. And I've been working with Jonny and Wefunder for a bit. One of my clients is about to close a $50,000 revenue loan on Wefunder in the next month. So it's really exciting what's out there. But the thing I want to talk to you about is, after hearing what Anne had to say and what Jonny had to say, and you probably have clients calling you, the question is, who should be doing this and when? As Jonny was saying, and this isn't just, crowdfunding isn't just about this moment, but what about that moment where the business is stabilized and now they're looking to reevaluate or launch a new product or figure out how they're going to be sustainable for the long term. And pretty much at Crowdfund Better for the last 8 years, what we've been doing is helping businesses understand where they fit in this ecosystem. And so we have a core product, which I have streamlined for this situation to help you, so that you as a small business advisor do not have to be the subject matter expert on crowdfunding. You can let Crowdfund Better do that, and we can point you to the best resources. We can point your clients to the best resources, and also help them to understand, looking at the capital stack, where does crowdfunding fit in the plan for them? And thanks to CAMEO, thank you, Heidi, we communicated over the last week, and CAMEO is going to sponsor a whole bunch of these assessments. And what it is we have an online assessment that your client fills out, which helps us to understand things like what Jonny was talking about. Do they have a customer base? Can they reach them quickly? What stage of their business are they? And in terms of how much could they reasonably raise? And so they fill out that online questionnaire, and then a member of our team will get on the phone with them for 20 minutes and help them understand what the best possible scenario using crowdfunding could be. And I'm also a really good truth teller. So if I don't think crowdfunding is a good option at this point, I will also tell them that so that they don't go down a rabbit hole and miss the opportunity to find other ways to help their business become sustainable. So the promo code is CAMEO Quick, and you can go online. You can give this directly to your clients. Give them the link, give them the code. They go in and fill it out. They should be telling us who referred them, and we welcome you as their small business advisor to join that call and to participate in that conversation as well, so that you can hear, and we don't have a game of telephone where information is being relayed secondhand. What we can help with answering is, yes, who would be a good fit? How much can they raise? What platform? When would it be sensible for them to launch? Meaning, if they waited a week and did a little bit of preparation, could they be in a much better place to get people's attention? Because it really, at this time, someone asked, is this a better time to crowdfund? Is it easier? And one of the things that's a little bit difficult right now is there's a lot of asks going out. So how can your client really get through the noise and be heard by their customer base? And then how we have other help if they're interested, particularly if they're looking at something like the Wefunder loan. There is a lot of experience that we have in terms of how to plan for that. And my client who just raised, she did that with $0 spent through Facebook advertising and other advertising. So I know that's a concern for some people, what the cost of marketing might be. And there are ways, but they take a little bit of sweat as opposed to actual money paying someone to promote your campaign. So I think that's all I have, unless there are any questions. And I guess the thing I would leave with is, if you think anyone could use crowdfunding, use this assessment. A lot of people I find when I talk to them, they hesitate, I'm not sure. Just give them the chance. And again, let us be your subject matter expert.
Great, thanks, Kathleen. Kathleen, and I mean, everybody here is that all three presenters happen to be CAMEO members. Jonny, you're honorary. But yeah, let's open it up for questions. I think, Kathleen, if you want to stop sharing your screen, CAMEO, we'll make sure that everybody we'll type in the link one more time. Oh, you already did, you're way ahead of me. Into the chat. She put the quick assessment link and the promo code that you can give to your clients. They are limited, so give them to clients that you're working with. Maybe let's not blanket that out and blast it out in an email. But we'll let you know when we're hitting our capacity. So we just gave you guys a lot of information. Want to open it up for questions. You should have the power to unmute yourself. If not, raise your hand and I'll unmute you. Want to see if, as everybody said, this is one choice in your capital options. Everybody should be applying. You should be definitely getting your members to apply for the payment protection program. If they're qualified, and SBA would say apply and find out. But if they're qualified, apply for SBA loans. From the disaster economic injury loans, apparently the webinar that we did last week was already outdated almost by the time we gave it, because the application process kind of shrunk to 2 steps. So there, all these pieces should be considered. So this is these are some more tools to put in your toolbox. Questions? I know I had one for Jonny. If you could just tell your terms again slower, I think, or maybe even type them into chat.
Yeah, I'll type them into chat, and they're also on the wefunder.com/loans page.
Yeah. Okay, the loans page. That would be the easiest place to get it. Thank you. And I will pop the PPP application. The PPP application is going to be, hold on, I can't do two things at one time, search and talk at the same time. The PPP is everybody should apply for that as well. It's also available to self-employed, independent contractors, 1099s, where the disaster loan is not available to the 1099s. So unless they've changed that since last week, but that was the last information that we had. And it's going to be a forgivable loan as long as you, you know, dot your I's and cross your T's. So Johnny popped his terms into the chat there. No questions about crowdfunding? Was that just all too fast? Or how many people on here are Kiva trustees?
I'm a Kiva trustee, but when they stopped allowing individual trustees, my privileges were taken away.
Oh.
Johnny?
That's a complaint, by the way.
Actually, Johnny, so we haven't revoked your privileges. What we've done is say that we take into the review process really a trustee. I mean, we have a lot of individual superstar trustees, you know, Jonny Price, Mayor Libby Schaff. But what we really value and what we're seeing across the board is that organizations, what we're trying to do is get the effort led by organizations versus individuals, because we recognize where they can support the business, you know, not only from a character endorsement point of view, but also from a point of view of, you know, giving the business ongoing support. And, you know, for example, in the case of Oakland, you know, we have plenty of entrepreneurs who are supported by the wealth of organizations that we have within that community. Like, just to use an example of like Reem, she's supported by La Cocina from San Francisco. She's supported by, you know, Culinary Strategies. She's supported by Central Community Partners. So what we're also trying to do is to kind of promote that idea that these businesses need that support coming from those organizations. And so it's not that we're sort of, you know, making a call on where that individual endorsement comes from, but thanks.
Great. So I did pop the PP Payroll Protection Program. Say that 5 times fast. I put the application as well as the borrower guides and the lender's info. It's my understanding that we're waiting on exactly how the back end mechanics are going to work for lenders and which lenders are going to be participating. It could be your bank. It could be one of CAMEO members, CDFIs. It could be various other organizations, the credit unions. We still don't know that information, and we don't know. The banks have to, since it's going through a bank, the bank has to say, hey, yes, I want to do this. So not all banks are necessarily participating. Maybe they all will. We just don't know. That information is just not clear yet. So we'll be kind of watching that for you. But you should talk to anybody who's interested from their own organization's standpoint of view, should talk to their banker to see. I'm guessing the more people they get to call the bank that say, hey, you know, are you doing these loans? That would be a good thing for them to want to do the loans. So you want to be ready and on the ball. If you look, it's really, yeah, somebody said that's a sample. The link I posted is not a sample. I think that the link I posted is a downloadable one. The one that we had, the link, yeah. Anyway, there were some link issues with the Treasury yesterday, but the link but it's up there. It's posted, so that one went through. So definitely like a 7A lender, who's a 7A lender, you know, we'll get that information out as soon as we have it. For any of the lenders that are on the call, if you are a lender that's on a call and you think you might want to participate, we're hosting a call on Friday at 2 to talk about what are the things you should consider doing. Is it going to be, you know, what's the process? Because the back end yet still has to be worked out, and how all the mechanics are going to be between the government and the lender. So but we can open it up now. I know lots of your local governments have alternative capital sources. What else? What else do you want to talk about? We can open it up for other questions and other comments if you guys want to share something, some other information, or something that CAMEO should be doing.
If I may.
Please, Lori.
Yes, I was.
What organization are you from, Lori?
I'm a SBDC business advisor in Northern California. And I was on a conference call with our local bank up here that is SBA. They're going to be doing the new loans, the PPP loans. And that is where I got the information that is actually a sample application. It was from her. They do not have the actual applications available yet. She was on the phone call with the SBA this morning, and they told her that inadvertently some got out without sample written across them. But if you go on the SBA website and you look for that loan application, you will see it does still say sample on it.
Yeah,
so,
the one from the SBA link does. There was another one that from the Treasury that, but yes, that's a good point. Let's make sure we download the one that doesn't, that is the final one. The one that I posted doesn't say sample, and it came from the Treasury.
So therein lies the problem, because they are SBA loans that will be being made through banks. The banks will not accept those applications because, according to my banker, that will not be the final application. So it's kind of a forewarning that probably is not going to be the final application.
Good to know. And we should.
That was according to her, from her conversation this morning with the SBA. And since they're processing the loans, I assume they know. I could be wrong, but that's what the banker said this morning. She's a senior loan officer at a local bank here.
Great.
I believe the application's out on Friday, Heidi. That's what.
Yeah, the applications are open on Friday. The applications for independent contractors and self-employed come out on the following Friday, on the 10th. So if you're indies on that. I'm going to post, this is really going to be a conversation for lenders. So if any lenders are in the room, this is and want to register for, I expect this to be a small call, but it's, you know, if you want to participate in the PPP program. And then I also wanted to post our, let's see, you can find all our past webinars in the link I just sent. And if you're interested in really professionalizing your online delivery, Joy's class is fantastic for that. Taking your TA online. Kathleen was a student last in our original cohort. And I don't know if anybody else on the call right now was on that call. Rocio was. You know, that was a really great thing. What you'll be doing is, if you click on that link, you'll be adding yourself to a wait list, and I'm just using that as basically who's going to be in the class. It will send you an email. So does would anybody like to say anything whatsoever related to what's happening or issue they want to bring up for us? Renee popped into chat. Looked like Chase was maybe only offering it to their own customers. Couldn't find more details. That was for grants promised to business owners and Verizon to women and people of color owned business thing. Are you talking about the LISC thing, Renee, with the Verizon? I can pop something into chat from there. I got something about that today. I can find it. All right, well, I'm popping the, let's see, the LISC webinar. Well, maybe not. I'll make sure the LISC Verizon grant goes out today as well, and with in our follow-up email. And with that, if nobody has any other questions or comment, oh wait, we have 2 new messages. The sample application. Kathleen recommends Joy's class, and there's the sample application. The sample application will tell you what you need to gather and tell you all the information that you need in order to get a PPP forgivable loan that doesn't count as income. Sounds a lot like a nice grant to me. So everybody get on, talk to your, go and call your banker today and say, hey, let's do this. And with that, if nobody has any other questions, and Jonny, Kathleen, any final, looks like final words?
Just thank you for putting this together, Heidi.
Yep. Oh, our pleasure. Our pleasure.
If there's for your great work right now.
Thanks. We appreciate all the work you guys are doing, all the work you all are doing to help your small businesses. I know this is like a totally busy time for all of us. So thank you. Have a wonderful afternoon, and we'll hopefully see you next week. Bye.
Bye, guys.